So I was watching the Game Theorists recently, and I stumbled upon my favorite show, Austin's The Science. And that got me thinking, why not make one of my own? So that's what I did. Austin, I know your pain. So I looked through the games I owned and picked out a topic I could cover and asked the question that started the whole thing. Would the paraglider work? The answer may surprise you. First thing we gotta do is pixel measurements. We need to know Link's height if we're going to find out if all of this is going to work. Austin already did some of the work for me. He gave me a ruler, the Master Sword, clocking in at around 3.25 feet long, or roughly 99 centimeters. It's a tad shorter than the average longsword, but it's perfect for what we're trying to do here. So doing the pixel measurements, we can determine that Link from Breath of the Wild is 109 centimeters tall, or... wait a minute. 3'7"? Well, I guess it makes sense due to elves being really short in multiple mythoses. I guess Lord of the Rings has warped my sense of fantasy. Anyway, for our experiment, we're going to be using the average weight of someone who is Link's height, which is 22.9 kilograms, or for my American friends, 50.5 pounds. It's about the average height and weight of a 5-year-old. Oh my god. However, now that we know how tall Link is, we can determine the gravity of Hyrule. Falling off of a crate I measured to be 1.49 meters, or 4.91 feet, takes Link 0.3 seconds, which gives us a gravity of 16.55 meters per second squared, which is actually pretty close to Earth's gravity, being over 1.7 Gs. Not bad. Now, I did the fall test again to see how much the paraglider slows Link's fall. Falling off of the same crate with the paraglider takes 0.6 seconds, effectively doubling his fall time. It's good to know, because now we need to find out the size of the paraglider. Doing some more measurements, this time using Link as the ruler instead of the Master Sword, the paraglider's sail has a surface area of 30.65 square meters, or 100.56 square feet, which is pretty average for a smaller hang glider. The issue comes in with the frame. Using more pixel measurements, the paraglider's frame comes out to a total of 123.43 cubic meters, or 404.95 cubic feet. This may seem outlandish, but most of the frame is curved and bent, making it appear smaller. This frame obviously adds some weight to it, however, but the question is, how much? Now, obviously, Hyrule has access to metals, and most hang gliders are made from lightweight aluminum. However, the game shows the paraglider is made out of wood. So I did a metric ton of research that was ultimately unnecessary into comparing the apples from the game to real-life apples, then looking up the weight of said tree's wood, but no one uses the wood from apple trees. So I just instead chose the most appropriate wood for the job and went from there. I tried ashwood, since it's primarily used in tool handles, and the paraglider seems to be just made out of the one wood, but that resulted in it weighing over a metric ton. So I instead chose corkwood, which is one of the lightest wood types, at only 5.4 kilograms per cubic meter, or 12 pounds per cubic feet. However, the paraglider still weighs 666.52 kilograms, or over 1,400 pounds. Holy crap. Link is the strongest man alive if he's able to lift that paraglider. I can't lift that. I'm serious, I can barely do 25 push-ups, let alone lift over 1,000 pounds. So the next step was the fabric weight, since that adds to our measurements as well. The material I thought made sense was a number 4 duck canvas. I have no idea what that means, which is commonly used to make sails, and also because, as far as I know, nylon hasn't been invented yet. That gives our sail a weight of 7.6 kilograms, or 16.75 pounds. Nice. Now, it's time to do some physics. See, in order for a glider to slow your fall, it needs to produce enough drag, which is the force keeping you in the air because it acts opposite to gravity. The faster you fall, the more air has to move out of your way, and even more so if you have enough surface area, which is, how gliders and parachutes work. Force G equals force D and all that. Well, force G looks like this. And adding up the weights of both Link and the Paraglider, this thing is going to need to produce 11,535.68 newtons of drag in order to cancel out gravity, which results in terminal velocity, point where force G equals force D, and you no longer accelerate. We just calculated force G, and now we need force D. However, this is where things get complicated. Force D looks like this, and don't worry, it's not as hard as it looks. This formula is rho, or air density, times the fall velocity squared, times the glider's drag coefficient, times the glider's surface area, divided by 2. The air density is 1.225 kilograms per cubic meters. I'll get to the fall velocity in a minute because that part was a frickin' nightmare. And the surface area is our previously calculated 30.65 square meters. The drag coefficient is how efficient that shape is at producing drag. Paraglider is a trapezoid, which is most like a flat rectangular plate, so I use that. Close enough for government work. That gives us a drag coefficient of 1.98, which isn't the best, but isn't the worst. Our fall velocity made this part tedious. You see, as soon as we start falling, we start producing drag, which meant I had to calculate the force of drag for every 0.1 seconds that Link is falling. At our 0.6 second fall time, it's producing 3,665.22 newtons of drag, which is only 31% of the drag needed for terminal velocity. But it slows this fall by quite a bit, actually. Paraglider reaches terminal velocity after 1.06445 seconds in the air, which is fantastic, because that means it works. But then I thought, Link is tiny. So I ran my calculations again, this time using my weight, to see if I could use the Paraglider and have it work under Hyro's gravity. As it turns out, I can. Even with my increased weight of 128.8 pounds, or 58.4 kilograms, because I'm tall and skinny, the Paraglider would reach terminal velocity after 1.09124 seconds, producing the required 12,123.21 newtons of drag easily. So, I get to do what Austin never does on his show, and I can declare the Paraglider from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild solidly plausible. That is, if I could lift the damn thing. 1,000 pounds, sheesh. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching, and hope you all enjoyed. Goodbye.